you spent, what is it like to spend Christmas behind bars?
Part of that question, Sarah, I can answer, and many of these people might know the places I've been to: Stateville, Menard, Sheridan, Vandalia, Marion, and about a half dozen more. I pretty much spent most of my life in prison, up until about 40 years ago. And the first person that I met from Sarah's family was not her grandparents, but it was her great-grandmother. And I had gone to church one particular Sunday, not for any religious reasons. Sundays there's nothing happening until noon, the football games start, and Sunday morning I went to church. Out of habit, I went 4 more times. And at that point I said, I forgot, the community supported a volunteer program into the church. And there were many people who came of all ages, men and women, and this is a little unusual because all those other prisons I named to you would never do that. And I went angry a particular Sunday and I argued with the Bible instructor about free will. I was born on the south side in the Woodlawn neighborhood to alcoholic, abusive parents. At 9 they sent me to a military school. At 13 I went to jail. Over the next 13 years I pretty much was in and out, the revolving door. So my parents were not a mom and a dad, it was a warden and guards. And as I said, I argued with the Bible instructor about this free will thing. And as I'm getting ready to leave, pretty much determined I'm not coming back to church, I've already made a fool of myself, a little old woman stopped me in my path. And she was all about 90 pounds and about 5'2", silver white hair, everybody's grandmother. And she said, "Son, you may not understand this, but God has a plan for your life." Did anybody hear God knocking at the door? And I turned away. Sitting next to Mom Carter, Sarah's great-grandmother, was a young lady who was a school teacher in the prison as well as a volunteer. And the next morning she told me, "It was good to see you in church Sunday." Over the next 3 days, she preaching scriptures to me and me denying them. She didn't know where I came from. She didn't know the horrors that I had suffered. She didn't know the weight that I had put on myself. Melanie spoke of a posture of hope, 180 degrees the other way, no hope, helpless. And I understood that. It wasn't the things that people were saying about me: "You have no marketable skills, you're not going to make it." I knew that. And I resigned myself at 26 to live the rest of my life in prison. 3 days after talking with the prison school teacher, I said, what if? What if what she says is true and that God can change my life? He had to do it. If it involved me in any way of promising to be good, it wasn't going to work. He had to change my life. And so I said, "God, if what she says is true, you can change my life, I accept your Son as my Savior." And immediately as I said the word Savior, and I'm not one to cry, I bawled continuously. And in my mind I felt that God was washing away the shame and the pain and the guilt of 26 years. It's hard to have a hope if you don't have something to cling to or believe in or see some evidence that the hope is reachable. Over the next 6 months, and Sarah mentioned her grandparents, Lloyd and Nita Cobalt. Nita always played the piano. Lloyd led the singing. And they actually came in more than twice a week because they came in Sunday morning service. They came back Sunday night for the hymn singing. They came Tuesday for yoke fellows. They might come another Wednesday for yoke fellows. So it was, back then, it was a little different. But what I look forward to, and I had spent 19 consecutive Christmases in prison. But this Christmas, and I'm going on to the next question, was the first Christmas that I would experience with Christ in my heart. So I was looking forward to it. They don't give you a lot of stuff in prison. They do manage to come out with those turkeys wherever they've been hiding them all year and give us a pretty decent meal. So during the Christmas service, the Christmas Eve service, we have the volunteers back in. Lloyd and Nita are there. Mom Carter's there. Other volunteers are there. And 3/4 of the way through, probably about the last silent night, was that a baby I heard? And what do you do when you hear a sound that you're not sure you heard? You listen harder. There it was again. And I said, someone who actually brought a baby into prison? We've got all these volunteers, yeah, but this is still prison. And then my mind took another path. How appropriate. Christmas. The newness of a child. The cry of a baby. Yes, that baby belonged for us that night as our baby Jesus. And that baby was Sarah. So I knew, whenever I tell the story and I put a time frame on it, I've always known how old Sarah was. Because I saw her when she was 3 months old. But just to say that, and we're still close with her family. We've known her family actually longer than we've known Sarah. But the transformation that comes because people came in, and who are we to be like? We are to be like Jesus. I asked Mary one time, I said, who do the men see Lloyd is? And she immediately said, Jesus. But when I told Lloyd that, he would have none of it. He said, no. He said, I'm going to visit Jesus. Because I was in prison and you visited me. So Lloyd's going to visit Jesus. And who's in prison? Us. So it's been a long, very appreciative relationship we've had with the Groves family, with the Cobalt family. And I'm just sorry that we didn't have 20 inches of snow on the ground for you. So that we could see Troy in his Bears jersey with no shirt.
That's another story for another time.
Thank you.